Good morning to you all. Welcome back to the Namaste Experience on this beautiful Thursday. I know it's beautiful wherever you are because it's beautiful everywhere. It's an easy one, isn't it? To recognize if we open our eyes to see, which is what we talked about yesterday. To realize through our real eyes what's really happening here. And what's really happening sometimes is like a baby bird trying to crack free from its shell into a new life. That dance that we all go through in order to break through. So today I'm excited about, well, I'm always excited about our session. It's just such a joy to be able to join as we do here every day, to be lifted as we start our day. And so today, I want to talk about something that happened here last night. As all of you know, maybe some of you, we had a party for our dear brother Jet. It was his birthday. And so he had the wonderful minister from up above, our sister community, come down and share some wisdom and some music from one of my favorite musicians, Brandi Carlile. I know a lot of you were here for that. And with everything that she shared last night and that Brandi sang, there was one line that really jumped out at me. So I immediately went back in my room, wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it, knowing that one way or another was going to shape our lesson today. Because it seems to really describe what we are moving through as we let the world dissolve behind us. We let the world dissolve behind us by letting go of our tight grip on it, expecting things to be one way or another, wanting the world to adjust to what I think it needs to be. And as we move higher into these frequencies of love, we begin to loosen our grip on the world. And that's a tough thing to do these days. We've talked about this a number of times, especially those of us who are from the U.S. or its neighbor, Canada. But in particular the U.S., with all of the challenges to love. The challenges to everything that we know to be true. Now, it's not about being right or wrong, but we can feel those challenges as we release our grip on them at the same time. We can't deny them, but we also aren't here to fight them. I don't think any of us are called to be activists or to protest. You know, coming from Portland, as I do, every time I go home, especially my father will call me up and say, "Be careful, that city's on fire." Well, if you consider a bunch of people dressed up as Gumby and other cartoon characters bouncing around outside, not exactly. It's all perception. It's all what we want to see. Those who want to hold on tight will say, "Well, it's on fire. Those people are terrible." And like, no, well. But those who just want to dance, those who want to dance, they know differently. And that's the difference here. We're here to dance in the midst of that letting go. So that was the line that Brandi Carlile sang last night that jumped out at me. It was specifically, "You can dance in the hurricane, but only if you're standing in the eye." You can dance in the hurricane, but only if you're standing in the eye of the hurricane, where there is peace, where there is stillness, where there is love. If you try to dance on the outer part of the hurricane, you're going to be blown here and blown there, and you're going to be all wet and disheveled and beaten about. But if you make a choice, I am going to release my grip on what I think the world needs to be, then I can dance in the very eye. And this is what we hear so often from A Course in Miracles and from all of our other spiritual texts. We'll hear things like, the world I see is not the real world. Beyond this world, there is a world that I want. And it's not denying what we're experiencing as we get blown about by the hurricane, but it's encouraging us and drawing us inward to the eye, to the stillness. So last night I wrote a little parable that goes with that line. You know, I love to write parables, and I haven't written one in a while, so I thought maybe this morning I would become the storyteller and share a little parable. And all of the parables that I love to share come from the perspective of this divine mother living in the Himalayan mountains in an ashram, where a community of devotees to love devotees. That's what we are, isn't it? We're all love devotees. We're devoted only to love. So that's our mother in the story. So let me read this parable, which is called The Eye of the Hurricane. The pilgrims gathered at the small ashram nestled against the foothills, where the great Hindu mystic known simply as Mother lived in silence more often than speech. The courtyard was warm with evening light, and the soft ringing of temple bells drifted from somewhere beyond the reem trees. No one dared to speak unless she invited it. On this day, a young woman stepped forward, trembling but determined. She bowed at Mother's feet. "How can I be happy?" she asked. "In a world with so much hatred and trauma. Everywhere I look, I see people attacking and being attacked. How can the heart remain open in such a storm?" Mother looked at her with absolute stillness, as if the question had been forming in her own heart long before it was spoken aloud. She motioned for the young woman to sit beside her. And then she turned to the others. "Listen," Mother said, "for this is a teaching for all of you. There was once a village at the edge of a great plain, a place so beautiful it seemed that the gods themselves had planted it there. But every summer, without fail, violent storms swept across the plain, storms so fierce that homes were torn apart and crops destroyed. The villagers lived in fear of those storms. They boarded their windows, tied down their roofs, and hid in underground shelters. And every year they asked the same question: how can we live with such terror? How can life be joyful when destruction hangs over us like a shadow? One year, a wandering holy woman arrived. She was quiet, her eyes deep as a well, her movements soft as the drifting smoke. The villagers warned her of the storms and urged her to stay hidden with them when the winds came. But the holy woman only smiled. When the first great storm rolled across the plains, dark clouds coiling like serpents, the villagers ran to their shelters. But one child, peeking out from behind a stone, saw the holy woman walking straight into the heart of the storm. Terrified but curious, he followed her at a distance. The winds roared like demons, lightning ripped the sky, trees bent, roofs lifted, animals fled. But as the holy woman stepped deeper into the storm, something strange occurred. The winds softened around her, forming a quiet circle. The rain did not touch her. The thunder seemed far away, and she began to dance. The boy rubbed his eyes, certain he was dreaming, but she was truly dancing, slow, graceful, completely at peace, in the center of the calamity. When the storm passed and the villagers emerged, the boy ran to tell them what he had seen. They laughed at him, thinking it was a child's imagination. But the holy woman said only, "The storm is never your enemy, only your distance from its center." Once again, the storm is never your enemy, only the distance from its center. Mother turned back to the young woman. "You can dance in the hurricane," she said softly, "but only if you're standing in the eye." The young woman frowned. "Where is this eye, Mother? How do I find it when people are suffering, when everything feels so loud and violent?" Mother touched her heart with one gentle finger. "Here, always here." Then she spoke the deeper truth. The still, quiet place where there is no movement or change, where all ideas and concepts fade in the light, that's the eye where you can dance in the hurricane. She looked around at everyone gathered. The world will continue its storms. People will shout, accuse, fight, cling, and fear. But if you stay at the outer rim of the storm, you'll be thrown and battered like everyone else. "Come within," she whispered. "Come to the center, to the place in you where nothing is shattered and nothing is threatened. In that place, compassion flows without effort. In that place, you do not join the battle, you dissolve it." The young woman felt tears rise, not of grief, but of recognition. Mother smiled. "When you live from the center, beloved, the world has no power to take your happiness. And then, by your quiet presence alone, you become the shelter others seek." And with that, she placed her hand upon the young woman's head, and a blessing that felt like the calm after the storm. "Go," Mother said, "and dance." Oh, please. Go and dance. That's the whole lesson. But don't dance on the outer edge where you're going to be thrown about. In other words, don't expect things to change. Don't expect to even be the change. Sometimes we think, well, if I get in there and I do battle, I'll help change things. No, the only place where you're going to be able to change is in the middle within yourself. Be the change. that you want to see. Because if you do that, then others will see that change and they'll want it as well, because they'll feel the peace, they'll feel the calm, and they'll come and dance with you in the center. So don't worry about the storm. There's a lot of worry, a lot of wondering going on. Don't worry about it. Just dance. So, Queen Victoria, what would you like to share with us about the dance?
Thank you, Brother James. This was top of the list. This gives you the whole book. So, first of all, Jet, happy holy birthday. Jet, a shining example of living light and the presence that stays still but can dance through it all. Happy birthday, Jet. And I have to tell you just a little story about Louis, my dad. So, and this is a true story. It happened many, many years ago when we were all living in the Quincy house. And we had a hurricane. And Louis grabbed me and he said, "Kid, you got to come with me." I said, "Okay, Daddy." And he said, "We got to go." And he takes me outside and I'm thinking, oh gosh, everything's going to be wild. He takes me outside. We stand in the middle of the front lawn and everything is still. I mean, still. And he said, "I want you to look. Look, kid." I'm looking around and all the trees around us, the Adams house is across the street, everything's wild. And he said, "Kid, don't forget this. That's Mary." And he's right. Mary is where he touches the heart of God. But isn't that the lesson? Stay in love with Mary, stay in touch with whatever you call that I am consciousness. And it was true. And I was in awe because it was a very big event at the time. And nothing in the whole yard of our house, nothing, not a branch, not a little leaf was blowing. Everything was perfectly still. It was very dramatic. And he certainly made his point, as you did in this story. And for me, that's an outpicturing of what we are all called to do, to live in that center. Don't worry about those storms. And as many of us gather and live in that I am, that center of love, and rest there. But the greater part isn't just to rest, it's to celebrate it. When you dance, you celebrate it. That's the highest expression of giving and joy and communicating that we can do, that we are capable of here in time. And it literally is the energy of bringing heaven to earth, love to fear, Christ into our experience and extending it through all of time and space. As our minds live in the center, we reflect that center, and everything is called to that same peace. I thank you for that story. Every bit of it filled my heart. So that's Mary, kid. It still stays with me. And I say, right. And I'll tell you a shorter experience I had traveling this year. I went through time zones to go to Europe and back, and I never had any jet lag. And I knew it was because I just stayed centered in love. Just stay in love, and then it doesn't matter what time zone you're in, you just show up in love. So that was a current example, but it was the same thing. That's Mary, kid. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
That's Mary, kid. I like that. That's the mother. That's why we always like to have her presence with us. That mothering, gentle aspect, calling us home, calling us to the center. So, Penny, honey, why don't you come on up?
Shall we dance?
Let's dance.
Shall we dance? Oh, Vicki, that was a great story. James, that was an incredible parable. I love being inspired. Dance. Here it comes. You knew it was coming. Dissolve. Allow. Notice. Create. Express. I am so in with dancing. Dissolve. To truly feel that, take that in for just a moment. Feel it? Where it all just falls away and we come back to the oneness that we've always been. And allow. There it is. All the distractions in the world, all the noise. Allow it to bring you to your center. Because it's here. The barking dog, the loud truck, the birds, the children, the TV, the news. Allow. Allow that to be the motivation for the dissolving. And then notice. Notice how you start to see the world, how you start to see yourself, how you start to see with your real eyes. Notice. And then begin to create the world that you want to live in, because you're doing it anyway. You're doing it anyway. What if you did it from that place of dissolving and allowing and noticing, present to the presence within? What if that is where you began to create from? And then let that set in for just a second. And see in your mind's eye how you want to express that into the world. Dance. Dance. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, it says. And my mother would say it didn't say it had to be in tune. Didn't have to be on key. Make a joyful noise. As you dance with the light that you are into the world, do you hear the world calling for your light, for your dance, for your song? Dissolve into what you have always been and bring it back. The world needs you. Dancing into your expression, dancing into the greatness that you are. You hear me say it often. I am certain that Spirit whispers and sometimes shouts. If you could see you the way that I see you, you wouldn't miss a step of the dance. I rest with you in that. I celebrate with you in that. We are the expression of the divine. We release into it and dissolve back to where we've always been. And man, is this a good place to be. Thank you.
Indeed, a very good place to be, right here, right now. And so right here and right now, I'm going to invite Scott up, and Scott is going to lift us with the chant that we learned a little while ago. And speaking of being lifted, I'll ask all of you to stand and let us just enter into that dance. Feel free to dance, to move, to let your light shine. So Scott, take it away.
I like the idea of dancing, but even swaying, because this is hypnotic. I am with you now, as I have always been, and I will always I am with you now, as I have always been, and I will always be with you. I am with you now, as I have always been, and I will always be with you. I am with you now, as I have always been, and I will always be with you. One more time. I am with you now, as I have always been, and I will always be with you. Nice deep breath, and let James take us home, as he says.
So, just remember, when you feel those winds blowing, however they seem to manifest, it could be in a difficult moment with a friend or a family member, or just thinking about what's going on in the world, make whatever that is your dance partner. That's your dance partner. And dance with it. It'll be very different, I promise. And to that we say, Amen, Amen, Amen y punto. Have a beautiful day, everyone. See you tomorrow.